In the past 100 years, as these super technologies have been developed in the West, the smashing of atoms, the invention of radio, television, computers, immunology, so forth and so on, data has been arriving about the practices of Aboriginal cultures all over the planet, that they dissolve ordinary realities, ordinary cultural values, through an interaction, a symbiosis, a relationship to local plants that perturb brain chemistry. And in this domain of perturbed brain chemistry, the cultural operating system is wiped clean. And
I just want to say that two modes being externalizing, going out, yang oriented, and then internalizing, going within, yin oriented. We oscillate in these things like the seasons, you know. We all have different seasons and different reactions to environmental triggers, to our epigenetics, to our own genetics. The chemistry is widely variant. There are a lot of toxins and different things in the environment now that have never existed, though they had existed in different forms. We aren't special. We tend to have to limit our perspective to data, to the data sets on the table, the facts on the table, and so it takes us away from being able to see patterns. This puts us in a more subjective, linear, projective perspective, direction in life as a species. But really it's all cycles. And the cycles, I'm not claiming to know the cycles. I just know that they're there. I'm trying to learn how to read the cycles. But as you know, every answer brings more questions. So essentially, what I've been able to determine is that when you are yang-oriented from a yin perspective, internalizing to external, you are less susceptible to the captivation of culture, to society, to established paradigms of thought. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. We need that in order to function, in order to actually develop civilization, societies. But there's a natural maturation process. All things, they ebb and flow. It's the rising and the falling. It is the Tower of Babel, essentially, if you want to get philosophically theologian about it. Many people that thrive in the world, it's because they have co-signed the world. They fell into the myopia of the 10,000 things, they became it, and they've mastered it, or they are mastering it, and you can learn a lot there. I think that's the natural path for the vast majority of people, and at times in everyone's life, it's our path. But when you're yang-oriented in relation to a dynamic which has a cycle, has an expiration date, you are part of its process. Your evolution is tied to that monolith, the shadow of past egregors thought. We are influenced by Psyche. It influences the body, the mind, the spirit. We are all uniquely tethered to this reality, tethered to life through the soul. And how we express in this world are these elemental expressions of Psyche which are in resonance with something within us, a nature to nurture effect, falling back into the loops of nurture to nature. Sometimes I stop and go back and forth, and it's hard to assimilate that. It's hard to accept that because we are taught to be in relation to the polarity of life and the friction which brings form to your awareness is all about that linear, forward-moving perspective. And so the contradictions arise within yourself, and then you deem them as negative, demonic, as you're not good enough for this teaching, for these people, for this system, for this whatever. And you demonize it, and then you go even harder into the illusion, into the externalization. And that tension creates a lot of power in people to manifest, I guess. I mean, one way you could say it. But when you fall out of resonance, when you begin to fall out of resonance with the world, when you see the changes are devolving, then you can see these points of focus where there is a sacrifice of the nobility of tradition, of what has worked for a novel expression of something new, something different, a trajectory. We see it now with technology, transhumanism, technocracy. It's about optimization of the myopic shadow from the Piscean dream, the potential. And it's about cultivating the spirit you need, something to stand on, something to stand against. You need difference in order to know the self. So we're finding that out collectively, individually, most importantly. We're posed with questions to dissolve with society in its trajectory towards control state, insanity, because it's losing control of the change of reality, of the world, of existence. It holds on to that which it was meant to be. Essentially, the seed of its beginnings is becoming its end. That's nature for everything. And we're standing on the side, if we're not caught in the dream. We're saying, how do we actually be in relation to the shit show without supporting the shit show? Is there even any options? What is this ego I've been constructing? It was tied into the relational dynamics of that. It's a disempowering relationship to the self when you try, or when you have only the building materials of the external world from which to work with. And these are the expressions of psyche that we're cultivating. You got all these different people with ideas, these people that say you should be like this, you should be like that, you should support this, you should support that. It's the battle of beliefs. Why are these people in authority to speak? What made them think that? Because they made a lot of money. They're high value human beings. High value to me isn't someone that supports the shit of this world. It isn't someone that fell into the fucking possession of the shit show because they couldn't handle standing in their own truth. It doesn't mean jack shit to me because someone can mimic success in this fucked up world. What did Krishnamurti say, It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. But as Terence here is getting to, culture's not a friend. It's the teacher. It's a friend in that it teaches you the meaning of the self. But it's a hard lesson, like any drug, like power, like knowledge. If you do not respect it, if you do not know your own boundaries, you lose yourself in it. And we have to lose ourselves to find it. It's the only way to reprogram the self, essentially. I feel everyone that's homeless, everyone that's an addict, someone that lost themselves, they were seeking to find who they are, and they're still in the process. If you're on that path, you're not done. The programming's so deep for people. There are exceptions, of course. Not everyone's the same. Some of us are tuned and in resonance in this world in different ways. Some people can rise in society without becoming possessed, and they can maintain the goodness, the purity. Doesn't mean they're better, doesn't mean that they're godly. It just means that they're in resonance with their path. Some people are here to learn deep-ass lessons, to transmute deep-ass pain, different things. There are times when this world is just a prison. When I'm in that place, I can't analyze shit. I can't do any of the objectification that I'm doing now. I just have to feel into it, be in it. It's the only option. Otherwise, I just push it off. I jump into illusions of the world, and I carry that, and it keeps accumulating. And we're at the junction point, the point now where all the people that have been doing that their whole lives, they can no longer swim because the water's too low. We're settling into a static, and we're going to dry up and blow away. Unless we fucking start to digest and release all the stuff we've been holding and get up and find the water, the flow. That's the creative expression. That is the Aquarian energy, the Uranian field. The regeneration of Saturn in Aquarius. Through Prometheus. Holding the fucking fire, the thing that hurts you most. And it isn't easy. Now that myth, that energy, that mission is going on at the most primal levels of life. It's not the only game, it's not the only focus. Just because the world's breaking up doesn't mean you can't ride the wave to the next destination. It's just not easy for most people. To speak on anything now is to bring doom and gloom. So I'm in my natural state because that's how I've always been, but it is at a point now where I'm realizing it. That's the fire that I've been burning the world down with. I've been sequestered. I've been in hermit mode for a few years. I've been in my own energy. Trying to figure out, digesting, releasing, healing, all these other things. And to do that, you got to keep digging at the wound. You have to clean it out. And for a lot of people that looks like psychosis, it looks like some mania, it looks like depression, it looks like all these things. These are phasal. You don't settle on a static distinction, you settle on the progressions. That gets you in the cyclical way of being because we are nature. The human body is time in form. All this changes. Doesn't mean that there is no beauty in the world, there are no pure expressions of existence. just means that you have to be in your most natural state, which is change. The world will make you if you don't make yourself. So I've been in hermit mode, and I've realized I've been digesting all these things. The only information I've really absorbed the past few years is astrology and crypto. And I would say that it's 90% astrology and related fields such as psychology and tarot. And now I've digested a lot of things. I'm realizing I need to be social. I need to be in relation to the world. And now I have to test the awareness. How do I respond when I feel I'm becoming intoxicated with the dynamics? Losing a sense of who I am and to what it is. And I've realized that's how you learn. You have to be ignorant. You can't control these things. So you must be more aware of which is the most beneficial dynamics, which is the best reflection in which to stare, what is the polarity to the spirit you're trying to bring to form. The world's divisive. People don't know how to handle their power they're projecting. It's natural. Everyone you connect with, you work your shadow out with them. You bring it to awareness. It doesn't feel comfortable. I feel most people that feel anxiety, it's because of that. We're digesting really dense energies right now. What do I mean by that? That is expression of psyche, of cosmic weather, essentially. You're standing in the fucking rain and you don't know it. Something's always coming, you can feel it, but you don't know it. It's like when you sleep, you're dreaming. All that tension, the psychic tension within your body is being released into this language so that you can come to terms and address what it is. So you can release it in a way. Have you ever heard these yogis, these enlightened people, they say they never dream? There's nothing for them to dream about. They're not engaged with reality in the way that the average person is. We are digesting the psyche of the universe through our lives, and to try and come to grips with that and be in awareness of the self in relation to the world is not easy, but it is a noble and worthwhile endeavor, I feel. Wisdom is currency. Experience is currency. Ignorance is the most powerful tool we have. But using it wisely, that is cultivation, that is the process. At least it is for me. What do you got to digest? What do you keep focusing on that's keeping you from digesting the last bits of yourself so that you can stand up and find the river? It's release for renewal now. I'm here for this. I don't know why. I'm here to create new foundations for future growth. That's the Taurian energy at its core. I'm a highly Uranian being. Change is the only constant. There's a conflict between being something as a static for a reason, and being something as a static through a projection, through a reflection. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell that is and break free of the mire. I know deep down what it is. I have to do something. I have to put my heart into something and move in that direction. But I'm still trapped in something I'm digesting. I can't break free in order to use the mind to tap into whatever the hell that is. I need new material. Essentially, it's fuel. It's engagement with life. That brings the spirit to form. That is what it is, and that's what I'm learning. So if you're stuck in the objectification and the observing mode, you got to try and break free and be in a creative flow. The shit show's going to happen, but you got to happen. That's how I feel.
Something older, even for these people, something older, more vitalistic, more in touch with the animal soul, replaces it, replaces the cultural operating system. Something not determined by history and geography, but something writ in the language of the flesh itself. This is who you are. This is true nakedness. You are not naked when you take off your clothes. You still wear your religious assumptions, your prejudices, your fears, your illusions, your delusions. When you shed the cultural operating system, then essentially you stand naked before the inspection of your own psyche. Desmond Morris called it the naked ape. And it's from that position, a position outside the cultural operating system, that we can begin to ask real questions about what does it mean to be human? What kind of circumstance are we caught in? And what kind of structures, if any, can we put in place to assuage the pain and accentuate the glory and the wonder that lurks waiting for us in this very narrow slice of time between the birth canal and the yawning grave? In other words, we have to return to first premises. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and at first it seemed to me only a metaphor, this phrase, culture is your operating system. But because I travel around a lot and get that jolting experience frequently of, let's say, leaving London on a foggy evening and arriving in Johannesburg 14 hours later to a sweltering day in a city of 14 million on the brink of anarchy, I get to change my operating system frequently. And so I notice the relativity of these systems. And some work for some things and some for others. For instance, if you are a positivist, if you're running Positivism 4.0, you can't support UFOs. Positivism 4.0 does not support UFOs. If, on the other hand, you're running your Rancha book 5.1 as your operating system, UFOs and a number of other things can get in through the door. That is what we would technically say is a more tolerant operating system, or its plug-in support special effects denied the positivist. Well, it's fun to think this way because it shows you that you don't have to be the victim of your culture. It's not like your eye color or your height or your gender. It's fragile. It can be remade if you wish it to be. And then the question is, well, how does one download a new operating system? Well, first of all, you have to clear some space on your disk. The best way to do this is probably with a pharmacological agent. You think of some while I have a drink of water. Psilocybin is an excellent disc cleaner. You can put a lot of things in the trash and have them just disappear with a psilocybin upgrade. Other pharmacological agents that will clear your disc are ayahuasca. And of course, these are gentle clearings of the disc, which take 5, 6, 7 hours. If you're in a hurry to dump that old data and leap right into the new operating system, click on the button marked dimethyltryptamine. A compressed disk erasure will immediately be downloaded, unstuffed, bin-hexed, implemented, installed, run, and you will find yourself with an entirely different head. Now, shamans have always known, though they may not have used the kind of language I'm using here, shamans have always known this trick. What trick? It has two facets. First of all, that culture is an operating system. That's all it is. And that the operating system can be wiped out and replaced by something else. So, in essentially, what's going on among shamans and those who resort to them for curing and counseling and so forth is somebody's running a slightly more advanced operating system than the customer. The shaman is in possession of certain facts about plants, about animals, about healing, about human psychology, about the local geography, about mojo of many different sorts that the client is not aware of. The client is running culture light. The shaman paid for the registered and licensed version of the software and is running a much heavier version of the software than the client. I think we should all aspire to make this upgrade. It's very important that you have all the bells and whistles on your operating system. Otherwise, somebody is going to be able to get a leg up on you. Well, what's wrong with the operating system that we have? Consumer capitalism 5.0 or whatever it is. Well, it's dumb. It's retro. It's very non-competitive. It's messy. It wastes the environment. It wastes human resources. It's inefficient. It runs on stereotypes. It runs on a low sampling rate, which is what creates stereotypes. Low sample rates make everybody appear alike, when in fact the glory is in everyone's differences. And the current operating system is flawed. It actually has bugs in it that generate contradictions. Contradictions such as we're cutting the earth from beneath our own feet. We're poisoning the atmosphere that we breathe. This is not intelligent behavior.
The self-destruct mechanism within us is a change-making mechanism. It's not necessarily only evil. It just appears more so when we get to these critical junction points, I feel.
Culture with a bug in its operating system that's making it produce erratic, dysfunctional, malfunctional behavior. Time to call the tech. And who are the techs? The shamans are the techs.
Let's just quickly. So, let me give you a little story here. I was in IT for 22 years, over 22 years. I'm a pattern person. I recognize system based off of patterns. I have Capricorn third house, which is very systemized. A lot of OCD develops through the analysis and optimization process of life in general. So system is language. That's all it is. Naturally, I found the most optimal language. It took me a long time, but then I realized the meaning, the value of astrology, what symbols are, what they can be. Why was it? First, it was to help myself. I've got a Gemini 8th house. I need to understand the information of my emotions, to categorize it, to take it all in, to organize it, to understand how it works in relation to what I feel. And my feeling is from the first house, Scorpio. It's very deep emotional experiences. Now we nature our nurture with reality. So what you bring with you in relation to this world is what is brought to life through you. So Scorpio dynamics, some people have very deep experiences in this world, traumatic things, crazy things, heartbreaking things happen to them. Other people, we just come into it carrying that energy more obviously because we don't deal with those experiences. Me, I'm the latter, or the former. But I brought my nature into reality, and it nurtured in response, cultivated something I have to digest, the expression of Psyche related to Uranus, which is on my ascendant, opposing Mercury, opposing Chiron, in a T-square with Saturn at my MC. Now, if you don't know astrology, that doesn't mean jack to you, but if you study these archetypes, if you study this 12 pi house system, and you overlay that with reality, you see a cipher for how to read the shit show and navigate through it with the mind. This is what brings Hermes Trismegistus to life for you. So I found the language, a system. Now I can establish a communal logic. And what is the logic? Essentially, it's just communication. Now words can only infer the meaning. It's up to the individual to figure out what the fuck it means at the deepest level for themselves. So now I'm doing that. I have Saturn on my MC. I've been doing this mimicry, this replication bullshit of IT, problem, solution, analysis stuff. I mean, there's more to it than that. I've done everything in IT you can imagine. Training, integrations, upgrades, acquiring new companies, integrating new systems, wiping. I've done it all, and I am not a math person. I'm not I don't like established forms of logic. This has been that square. I had to develop something in life, and I found the language through what I was doing, the friction of polarity with that kind of a life. And it helped develop the psyche and form so I could become aware of things. Now I'm utilizing that knowledge and applying it, and this is the wisdom. That's Saturn. Leo's expression. So I'm trying to express the wisdom not through speaking well and all that, but through actually living life. That's the most important. I quit my job. I ended all things that had hit their culmination points. And now all things are maturing, cultivating in new expression. You're still in relation to people. You're still in relation to the world, your society, your culture, all these things, but it's how you interact with it. How do you see yourself? So I see the system. I see the language. Now the patterns have meanings. And I learn to release. So one day I will release all this knowledge. I mean, I've already validated that by following my own intuition, I've never made the wrong mistake. But now I have something from which to navigate, which to create. This is a gift for me. I haven't always seen it like a gift. Knowledge is responsibility. Knowledge is pain. Holding the fire burns. But either you burn yourself or the world's going to, so you might as well make the most of it. How do you benefit yourself? How do you bring an optimal expression of life into existence? It's through awareness. No limiting beliefs. I've got enough of them just programmed into me by default. I am trying to transmute that. So I don't need Abrahamic lore. I don't need the mythologies established in this time to help co-create me. I'm looking to enhance, to create new mythology. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. I have a feeling and I'm trying to follow it. So this is for all the people here. If you want to understand yourself, then you will understand the world in a way that is more authentic. We've all tried to understand the self through the world, and we've learned what we are, what we aren't. But to get to the authentic expression of your being, you have to start digesting things, transmuting things. So now we're coming into this south node, just entered into Libra from Scorpio. All the stuff we've been digesting because the world gave rise to reason is now being measured and weighed in relation to the world, in relation to ourselves, who we've been. Because Aries here, North Node, that is the authentic expression of an individual. That is the individual impulse, primal life, the self. Aries is the head. It's how you think. So that's the feeding of the fire. And Aries is 12th house to Taurus, where Uranus is. And Uranus is the Berenger of change, the bringer of change, the higher frequency of Mercury. And when I say that, it is almost like Mercury is divine. But when in alignment with Uranus, the spirit is flowing. That's the water bearer, pouring in the starlight through the emotions which rise within you. You can understand these things for yourself. You don't need languages. You just need to figure out what isn't you and release it. To understand the boundaries of the self. And not from an egoic way, but from a way of what constrains me from changing, from growing. Then you don't have to focus on all the nuanced details and follow all the guidelines of the gurus and all these other things. Because truth is, we're all on our own paths. You don't need to be like Tate or Terence McKenna or whoever. You know, they're programmed to different things just like you, and you got to find out what it is and bring it into this world, because the world wants change. If we don't bring the change, someone's going to bring it to us. You pick your work or it picks you, essentially. The work itself is the most difficult part. I will, if you want a reading, a psychological analysis to the language of astrology, and what is an analysis? It's just new meanings to old words, new words to old meanings. The resonance is what you feel in these changing times, and to find words that can give you a mental awareness of what that is, it's very powerful. So I can help you do that. If you're interested, go to my website and just fill out a form. All right, well, thanks for watching, listening, and being.